keeping an eye on the comments, hopefully. First thing we start with is an apron.
As you're done, please let me know
Keep
that
in mind
you are done.
that this apron says Hannah's Kitchen, because this is Hannah's kitchen. She lets me in here to make the cholent, and that's it. Okay, so when I make a cholent, we put it into the crock pot, and it's in the crock pot for a good 15 to 20 hours, and sometimes the sides of the crock pot there's hard pieces that get stuck. So for cleaning purposes, we use slow cooker liners. You don't have to use this, but this is what I do. Slow cooker liners are a plastic bag that goes inside. In order for it not to stick, we're going to put water inside. Okay, I'm going to take the plastic liner, open it up, and put it inside. Okay, the first ingredient that we put in is oil. We put in around 2 tablespoons of oil, but I do it by looking.
What just happened?
Do you see the chat what I wrote in the chat?
Sorry. How do I flip it?
What did you do?
I don't know. It just flipped.
Then you don't leave until I say which office to you.
There.
Do you see what I wrote in the chat?
Sorry.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
You see it now?
You know, we didn't get Spielberg to produce this, but actually we got better than Spielberg. So the first thing that we put in was oil, around 2 tablespoons of oil. The next thing that we put in is onions. Now you can caramelize the onions. You could put fry the onions first, but you don't have to. You can put them in straight like that. Actually, I'm gonna cut this down so that you can see me a little better.
Mishka, wave to everybody.
Say hi.
Tell everybody how amazing Tapi's Cholent is.
It's crazy yummy.
Okay, so first thing we want to put in is some onions. For the recipe that I'm going to make in this, what is it, a 7-quart? 7-quart crock pot, not full to the top. I put in 2 onions on the bottom. Okay. The onion, I slice it in half, make 3 wedges, and cut them small. Put this in to the crock pot. I have a second onion that I cut up before. Goes also into the bottom of the crock pot. Sit around a little bit. Try to cover the bottom of the crock pot with it. Okay, that is the first step. The next step that we do in our cholent is that we put in barley. I have over here prepared barley, and what I like to do is cover the bottom with it. Keep in mind that barley grows, barley and the beans, they grow in the crock pot as they absorb the water and they grow. So if you're going to fill it up to the top, don't put in too much barley because then it will overflow. Put this over here. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Then we put in some, this is a cholent bean mix. You can buy these cholent beans as a mix, or you can decide which beans you want to put inside. Again, we sprinkle these on top. And there you go. The next step, I do this in layers. So the next step I like to put in is the meat. I put in the meat at this level because I want that it should drip down and give taste to everything under it. If it was a taller cholent, I would put some potatoes first and then the meat and then more potatoes. The main thing that I like to do is cover the meat with potatoes, that way the meat doesn't dry out. What we use for meat is cholent meat, or it's called the stewing beef plate. It's a fatty meat, very, very important, because that's what gives it all the flavor. We have over here cholent meat. And I also try to make sure that the cholent meat doesn't go to the sides, that way it doesn't burn next to the wall. Try to keep it into the middle of the cholent, to be surrounded by the potatoes. David, I see you made a comment about Shner Zalman. The one who taught me how to make this cholent was Shner Zalman. Shner Zalman, many years ago, we were doing a minyan here in Dollard, and I wanted a good cholent. Shner Zalman makes a fantastic cholent, and I asked him to make a cholent for us, and which he did. And and then we brought it here, put it in the crock pot here in Dollard. And everybody loved the cholent, and they said we can't make a minyan without having the cholent, so I had to learn how to do it on my own. But yes, a big shout out to Shner Zalman, my brother, for teaching me how to make a good cholent. Okay, the next step is potatoes. Again, like I mentioned before, I want the potatoes to cover the meat, that way the meat doesn't dry out. The top of the cholent tends to be a little bit more dry, and you don't want to put too much water into the cholent because you don't want that the cholent should be too watery. You want it more pasty, or at least I want it more pasty. I like potatoes like this size. I slice it in half, and then very important to make small pieces. Pieces should be small like this.
Respond to Benji.
Small what?
Respond to Benji.
Oh, well, wait, the beer is coming. Don't worry, Benji. The beer is coming. And then small pieces of potatoes, because when you put in small pieces of potatoes, when you taste them, they taste like cholent. If you have a big piece of potato like that in your cholent and you take it out and you eat it, it tastes like potato. But if you make small wedges, small little diced pieces, so then it will taste like cholent. So I prepared over here, because for my family, for Shabbos, we're going to use 10 potatoes. So I cut up one, but I prepared over here another 9 potatoes. As you can see, they're all cut up nice and small. And as you see, it covers the meat. That is the main thing that I wanted it to do, is to cover the meat. Okay, wash my hands. Okay, here comes the most important part I've never used, Benji, I've never used the small canned potatoes. I wouldn't use whole small potatoes. If you're going to use that, I would cut it up. I've heard from others that they do use, but I don't know. It's not something that I've ever used, so I can't say. I like the authentic potato. It's harder. But anyways, you let me know what you think. But the most important part of a cholent is the spicing of a cholent. And that's where most people make a mistake in a cholent. The cholent is going to sit on the fire, so to speak, sit in a crock pot or on the stove top for many, many, many hours. And when it's sitting there, when it's sitting there, it will absorb a lot of the spices, and you need a lot of spices in order to really get a geschmack cholent. So that's a very important part, and you put a lot, and you don't necessarily notice it in the cholent, but there's a lot of spices. So here, put a nice sized palmful of salt inside the cholent. The next spice is black pepper. I literally cover the top with black pepper, a coat of black pepper. Now, everybody's taste is different. As we say in Hebrew, there's a saying from our sages, al tam v'reach ein lehitvakeach, that on taste and smell, you can't argue. Everybody's taste buds are different. So you're going to have to try this out and figure out what you like, how much black pepper you like, and how much of the other spices you like. But as you can see, there's a lot of black pepper in this cholent, and this is the way I do it every single Shabbos. Let's get to that. Now we're going to put in Montreal steak spice. And again, try to cover the top, a little bit less than the black pepper, but I put in a decent amount, a nice serving of Montreal steak spice. The next ingredient that we put in is garlic powder. I put a lot of garlic powder. You need big, these are the small ones because we ran out of the big one, but you need a lot. If you're making a cholent every week, you need a lot. That's the garlic powder. We're a big fan of garlic in general in this house. And then paprika. And paprika, again, I cover the top in paprika. That's it for the spices. Surely, about chickpeas and rice. No, this is not a dafina. This is a cholent, Ashkenazi cholent. And no, it's not the way we make the cholent. Very, very different than a dafina. Yeah, so sorry about that, but yes, this is a cholent, not a dafina. The next thing that we put in is ketchup and barbecue sauce. I find that first of all, it offsets, it balances the sharpness of some of the spices. It also caramelizes a little bit, which helps. This is not a scientific cooking show. I know a lot more about teaching you a page of Talmud than about cooking in the kitchen. I can only tell you from experience how I've developed this. You know, there's a few tricks that I've had. For example, about the oil, how much oil to put in, and putting in ketchup and barbecue sauce, even though it's not a sweet cholent. There is Hungarian cholents that they put in a lot of ketchup and barbecue sauce in order to sweeten it, and that's a sweet cholent. That's very, very different than this cholent. It's a savory cholent. But I put it in for the offset of the spices and for that it caramelizes a little bit. So just a squirt of the barbecue sauce. And a squirt of ketchup, and that's it. This is the cholent. Now, we need to put liquid in here, because if we don't put in liquid, it will burn. I love putting in beer. Sometimes I put in 1 can of beer, sometimes more than 1 can of beer. Benji says maple syrup. Yeah, it could work the same. I think so. I'm going to try that once. No, sorry, no sweet potatoes. I don't put in sweet potatoes because that would make the cholent sweet. I'm not looking to make a sweet cholent. I'm looking to make a savory cholent. Also, it won't hold its shape. Everything over here holds its character, holds its shape a little bit more. It's if it was a regular Shabbos where I could make a double cholent and it would get eaten, I would have prepared another cholent and showed you the final product. Since we're all at home and we don't have that opportunity to really share this cholent, so I'm making enough for my family, so I'm not going to make extra. I don't want any food to go to waste. But maybe another time I'm going to make a video of a prepared cholent, what it looks like as a finished product. Now for liquid, so I like to put in a dark beer specifically. I found that light beers don't do the same. The beer is for a few reasons. It's not scientific, but I find that it softens the meat. I find that it does give a certain taste to the cholent, and you know, it's one of those secrets that people put in. So also, what I like to do with the liquid is to wash the spices. That way they go down to the bottom as well. So I try as much as I can to get the spices to go down. That way it's mixed in well. Should I put in water now, or are we putting it up now, or should I put in water later?
Water now.
Okay, so that's one can of beer, and then the rest I put in water. I put water in till just over the potatoes, not more. If you're gonna put in a lot of things that expand with the water, so then you might need to put in more water. But you test this 1 week, works one way, and then you'll figure it out. But I didn't put in too much beans and barley, so we just put water to cover the potatoes. Again, I try to drown the spices, that way they go to the bottom. Pretty good job. And that is it. That is the cholent. I'm gonna cover this and put it into the crock pot and put on the timer so that the crock pot should turn off at around 1 o'clock tomorrow in order to enjoy this cholent together as a family. Cholent in Hebrew, we call it chamin. Why is it called chamin? Because cholent is something that is a custom that became for Jews to eat on Shabbos in order to have something hot. It says in the Torah that we don't light a fire on Shabbos, so therefore we don't cook on Shabbos. But we know that we can put something on the fire from before Shabbos in order to enjoy on Shabbos. And in order to prove that we are allowed to do it, became a custom dafka to do that. So therefore we make the cholent every Shabbos. It's a mitzvah to have cholent, and hopefully you're going to enjoy the cholent as much as our family and extended family. Everybody at Chabad loves this cholent. And now you have the recipe. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Feel free to send us a message, and we'll try to help you out. Anything else over here? No. Good Shabbos, everybody, and enjoy.